What is up, fishing addicts? On today's video, we will be talking about winter baits, cold weather baits. What works for me? This comes from years of experience fishing on colder water in Midwest. I wanna um, make sure clarify this is for Midwest. I was just watching some videos how winter fishing. Guy was making a winter fishing video, fishing down south in Florida, and everywhere was green. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, we do not have that luxury to be fishing in winter in green. Our winter fishing involves when there is open water in ice, um, open water when it's cold. So a guy asked me last week about my go-to baits. Unfortunately, this year I have not been able to get on the water when it's cold due to medical reasons, but I am getting better and I am taking care of myself. I start doing exercises and all that stuff. So hopefully, if everything works out, I will be on the water within a week or two, weather permitting, of course. And there is a area that I fish, which all I need is just open water. But I'll link a couple of videos over here somewhere where you guys can check out the baits that I was using in winter. That was January, February, and March. Well, we're gonna focus on January and February open water fishing. So I don't have that many baits that I rely on when the weather gets extremely cold. Water temperature being on 30s or around 34 to 40 degrees. Well, surface temperature of the water it's at 30s, but after certain depth, the water temperature it's on its 40s, 50s, or whatever, depending how deep and where you're fishing. Um, from past experience, the areas that I was fishing, it's pretty on the 40s, mid 40s, lower 40s, vice versa. But however, let's get to the point. Baits. I will explain you guys why I choose these baits and how I use them and everything which you need to know. And first, most uh, bait that I rely on, well, one of the most baits that I rely on, it will be a shaky head. Um, some call it spot remover or whatever. This is a do nothing bait basically. Um, I like using the drags on the back because it does almost all the action comes from what I implemented on it. It's heavily, my baits are heavily scented. I am a strong believer on the scent, especially winter time. Not only I use more natural colors, natural baits, um, but I use scent as well. So because when I cast this bait, and I usually go with quarter or 3/8. Even if I'm fishing deeper water, well, depending on how deep water I'm fishing, I might go up to half ounce depending on the current if I'm fishing a river situation. So what I do is I'll cast it, let it hit the bottom, and very slow drags. I just drag it a little bit and I'll stop and I'll shake it and I'll just let it sit there for 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Um, I'll just let that bait soak, really have it soak in the water. Slow presentation is a key because the fish are not very active. It does still have some drawing power, but a fish is not gonna swim 20 feet to go grab it. So slow presentation, and that's where the scent comes in and the color comes in. If it looks natural, tastes natural, smells natural, the fish will go for it. And it's always very slight taps or just tug on the line, or you feel the when I try to move it, I feel a weight on the line. When I feel the weight on the line, set the hook, and there is a fish. And when I'm searching, I would go with the paddle tail, a short 3 inch, 3.5 inch paddle tail with this type of jig head. I do prefer these type of jig heads because when they sit on the bottom, I won't sit because my hand is not straight, but when they sit on the bottom, the tail is up like this. So that this is how it stays. And with the small movements from under the water currents, the tail has a slight action by itself. And of course, again, shad scent, it's a must on any of the baits that I use when it comes to paddle tails. And the benefit of using a jig head like this one, I don't know if it's going to focus. There we go. Um, the line tie is on top. So it's a little bit when it gets snagged or when it gets in the rocks and stuff, I can pop it a lot easier and I don't lose that many jigs because the line tie it's on top. If it was on the front, like what I would use on a grass type of situation, so it can come through the grass pretty easy. And when you're fishing a jig head like that, with the front tie, usually the knot gets damaged, the line gets damaged, and you lose uh, lures and fish because you have a nick on the line. So these are the same. Again, I'll cast it bottom and I'll slow drag it, very slow. I'll slowly creep it, and I'll bump all the rocks. Especially works great for walleyes and smallmouth. Smallmouth love it, go crazy for this, and walleye. And I'll use, like I said, smaller profile baits. All of these baits are very small profile, 3 inches, 3.5 inch max. I'll go through, but it's usually around 3 inches. I like to keep it 3 inch and below because wintertime fish do not go for bigger meals. They go for smaller meals so they can digest it faster. They don't want to suck on a 6 inch shad and then they'll feel uncomfortable that thing is gonna start rotting on their stomach. They won't be able to dissolve it as fast as a smaller one. They can digest it a lot faster, and it gives them a better chance of catching. And a big shad, it's a stronger shad, so it'll swim off faster than a smaller one. Smaller ones are almost paralyzed, and the fish just pick on them. And my third choice, again, though this one is more for searching for fish, and this one calls them from a long distance. This one, a blade bait. I would use a blade bait over a rattle trap or red eye shad or anything like that because this one doesn't have rattles, but it does have a great vibration. So that's what I'm keen on, vibration over noise, because if I'm using this, I'm fishing anywhere between 6 to 14, 15 feet of water, uh, and I'm bouncing it on the bottom, just small rips. Rip it, let it go. Rip it, let it go. Or I'll swim it. Very rarely, I will swim it very slow, depending on the bottom. If it's a nice flat bottom, I would try to swim it a little bit. For the most part, it's yo-yoing, and I would let the bait sit on top for 5 to 10 seconds, and I'll provide erratic grips. Sometimes will be I'll move my rod a little bit, maybe an inch or two, and sometimes it will be 3 to 4 inches. So you have to keep in mind, you moving the rod an inch, that bait jumps about half a feet or so from the bottom. So little movements, it makes big movement underwater. And like I said, it does provide big vibration, and it does provide a flash every time you rip that bait. It flashes. And I don't like to fish with scales and all that, or painted blades. I do prefer a silver blade or anything that's a silverish um, stamp on it or whatever. So with blade baits, it's more of a reaction bite. You will get more bites. They might not be the biggest bites, but you will get the most active fish out of there. If I'm fishing a spot that has a lot of fish, I mark them side scan. They look like little white dots with a big shadow. I will try with the blade bait, see if I can get any reaction, and then I will switch um, to this. Um, I tend not to use that many skirted jigs. This time around, I prefer do nothing baits because the fish will slowly walk up to it and suck it on. Skirted jigs do work as as good at sometimes, but at this time of the year, I prefer non-skirted, just plastic and paddle tails, smaller presentations. Anything with the skirt, it's a big profile, uh, bigger meal type of deal, and it does provide a bigger bite, but not that many. So I want to do that. I want to get into there with small profile baits and grab as much as fish as I can. And like I said, one thing to keep in mind, wintertime fish do not look for bigger meals. They go for the smaller bait because they go for the new hatchlings or the smaller profile shad that they can digest pretty fast. As the temperatures go upper 40s to lower 50s, when they're coming out of their winter to spring transition, that's when I will switch to bigger baits. So, like I said, these baits work great for our area, Midwest, which is pretty cold. The water gets drops below 40, unlike most of the videos that are presented out there are for water temperatures. Their water temperatures they never see something below 40. This has helped. This is the patterns that I've acquired over almost a decade of fishing in winter. Either it's wading or kayaking. Most recently, I start kayaking, but I usually waded the rivers. And pretty much the only open water we have right now is it's a river situation, but some of the lakes will be open in a couple of weeks when we start hitting to March and the temperatures are going out. So let me know down below in the comments what's your favorite winter jigs? What you prefer? I know I didn't put a jerkbait on there because I don't feel like the jerkbait is working around this time of year as the fish are on the bottom. Sometimes when if you have live scope or whatever and you scan an area and there will be nothing on there because the fish are on the bottom and you can barely see them on side imaging or 360. I know 360 you probably see them better, but the fish are always on the bottom. Their bellies are on the bottom. They're not moving as much, so it makes it difficult uh, to locate them. But what I do is I focus on underwater structure that receives a lot more sunlight during the day than anything else because the fish will focus on that structure, rocks, stumps, and any darker bottom. Uh, Harder bottom will warm up faster than mucky water. So I hope these tips are helping you guys out. Like I said, let me know down below in the comments. I know someone will be like, hey, you forgot about the Ned rig. Yes, Ned rig also works great, but I personally prefer shaky head, or you guys in Midwest might know as spot remover. So let me know down below in the comments. Have you tried one of these baits, and what are your thoughts on blade baits over a rattle trap type of style or lipless crankbait type of style? So that's it, guys. I'll catch you guys on the water.